want to find out what's a better movie, a rat with culinary skills or boys who can fly with their minds. So today we're going to be discussing Ratatouille and Chronicle, both very different movies in a lot of ways. Oh, by the way, I'm Jake, this is Matt, and of course you all know Daniel.
This guy.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. Ratatouille is a 2007 movie, directed by Brad Bird and stars Patton Oswalt, Lou Romano, and Brad Garrett, and is the story of a rat who loves cooking, which is something, I don't know if you guys knew this, is something that rats don't normally do.
I did know that.
But it's interesting because rats are usually, supposed to stay away from the food.
They just eat the garbage, right?
Right. Carry disease, which
ridiculous.
Killed a lot of people back in the plague days.
Apparently. But it's good. It's kind of funny.
Cool.
I had fun
with
with
this Pixar movie.
Chronicle is a 2012 movie directed by Josh Trank, which has the unfortunateness of being the same director that did Fan Four Stick. It stars a young Dane DeHaan, a young Michael B. Jordan, and a normal Alex Russell. And it is about 3 high school kids that find a meteorite underground and touch it, because of course you do, and they gain telekinetic powers. And
as you do.
As you do. And they have fun with it first, one of them goes crazy. And Chronicle is, not even kidding, one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I love this movie so much. Ratatouille's great. Pixar is great. I love Pixar. Everything they stand for, but Chronicle is so good.
I'm actually in the same boat as Matt. I love the movie. But Ratatouille's gonna...
It has its merit. I don't think it's going to win by a landslide.
It has merit, but I'm going to be honest, there's just so many reasons to love Chronicle over Ratatouille. Chronicle, and these are my first impressions, Chronicle it's just a very unique, intelligent movie, whereas Ratatouille is not the best Pixar movie. And just because you have Pixar slapped onto it doesn't make you that great of a movie. Then again, it helps not being bad.
Daniel, what were your first impressions?
So my first impressions is I liked Chronicle. I didn't love it quite as much as Matt and Jake, because there's no way anyone can love a movie quite as much as Matt and Jake love Chronicle. However, Ratatouille is not the best. This is not even the first movie that Brad Bird has made about a very special person who can only do the one thing, and if only somebody would give him the chance to do the one thing that he's just naturally great at. He's done a lot of those movies. I don't know if you knew that.
Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Remark cassette, bro. You didn't say it. You were right.
I usually don't say it.
You hobo.
I knew you were looking out for that.
I was. All right. Last week.
Story. Let me get started, please. Ratatouille has an interesting story of a rat being able to fulfill his lifelong dream and apply his skill in a secretive and somewhat disturbingly gross way. And then, eventually him and his accomplice get found out. It's unique in those aspects, and
we don't normally see a rat cook.
Right. It's unique in those aspects, and
it's
that's kind
very
of creative. But as far as let's say framework for the story, it doesn't feel as unique. It's kind of we've seen this before.
Fun fact, Pixar actually has a list of 20 some odd rules that if you write a movie for a Pixar film, you have to follow these rules. And that's why every single Pixar movie kind of feels the same.
Right.
Because it's a formula.
Yeah.
The formula works, and that's why they're all kind of as popular as they are, every last one of them.
And I think Ratatouille I mean, obviously followed that formula, but it just wasn't as interesting as I feel like other Pixar movies were. Ratatouille is not my favorite in the fact that I was just kind of bored by it. It wasn't super interesting, wasn't super compelling. Chronicle, on the other hand, had a very interesting story in the fact that it kind of mixed a lot of different genres around. You have a superhero movie, but it also gets really dark.
Very dark.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of like a teenage angst movie.
So much angst.
And,
oh my gosh.
and at the same time, it's like, okay, now that we've got these, let's throw in some Blair Witch. And that's just kind of the direction it went. And I don't know if you guys know this, but part of their marketing when the movie first came out, they had like these life-sized cardboard cutouts that could fly. And so they started flying them around New York City, and people would like look up and saw just like these 3 dudes flying around New York City.
That's so
It was way cool. Anyway, that got me really excited about the movie. I just think it was very interesting in everything they did and very unique, whereas Ratatouille was not.
Yeah, it's interesting because like this is the first time a Pixar movie has gone up against any other movie. We've only ever compared it to itself, you know, ranking in this corner to see what we think of all that.
Shameless plug.
That was very full of shame, actually. Just kidding. But yeah, like Jake said, Chronicle is just like such a smart story. It's so unique, and I just love the way that it's told. Yes, it's a found footage film, meaning...
But only for the first little bit.
Right, meaning it's an in-universe camera that we're seeing the footage captured by this character, what they are seeing. And
like very early on, it becomes a better camera.
Right.
And so by the middle of the movie, you don't even notice. It's just, it's a camera. It's a floating camera.
Exactly, because they get the mind powers, they can still have an in-universe camera, but it can be over here, and it can be doing these wide panning shots, because he's moving it himself. It just is great. I love how the story is told, even if the story itself is kind of simple.
But there's nothing wrong with a simple formulaic story because, like you said, sometimes the formula works.
Right.
And I feel like in this case with Chronicle, the formula totally worked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm voting for Chronicle.
Absolutely voting for
totally.
Chronicle. Yeah.
Right on. Characters. Thoughts?
Characters. Unfortunately, the only interesting character in Ratatouille is the rat, Remy. He's the only one with actual goals and finds ways to accomplish them. Linguini literally gets told what to do by a rat. Yeah, it's a pasta. Well, Remy's really the only active character, which isn't bad, it's just not that interesting. Chronicle, all 3 of them have great arcs and very different arcs. They all get this power kind of thrust on them, and Dane DeHaan's character goes full descent into madness. I can do whatever I want. He's the Magneto.
I agree. This is a superhero movie where the superpowers go to like these 3 teenagers.
And they all handle it differently.
Yeah, that's the thing is, you know, they're not all like, oh, we must use this for justice, let's go full Spider-Man. No. They use it to screw with people.
Oh, yeah.
In ways teenagers would do if they got telekinesis. They use it to learn how to fly. At no point, I think, does any one of them really use it for any real good.
Except for Alex Russell's character at the end.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to figure out what this is about.
Yeah, and that's after like all these traumatic events happen.
Petition for Chronicle 2, please.
It would be amazing. I mean, at no point, it all feels like, yeah, this is probably what would happen if 3 teenage boys were suddenly just given powers.
Yeah, and Michael B. Jordan kind of gets bored with it after a while.
Yeah.
He has fun with it, but then he's like, you know, I'm just going to be done.
Right.
It isn't until Dane DeHaan kind of eggs it out of him to get him to go up into the sky.
Yeah, and then, you know, dark things start to happen. Mistakes are made.
Like, it was shocking to me when Michael B. Jordan got struck by lightning.
Yeah, right.
It was ridiculous. Like, he's one of the main characters. He doesn't die.
And you're sitting here thinking, like, was that just
like halfway through the movie?
An act of nature, or was it Dane DeHaan? Like,
Yeah, it never really clarifies that.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
But I just think it's really interesting that the characters are very realistic in this movie.
Definitely.
And it's not exploring, it's not like, oh, let's, you know, make another superhero movie. It wasn't a superhero movie.
No.
It just had superpowers in it, and it was the most realistic way of showing what would happen if teenagers were actually given superpowers.
The hospital scene?
Oh yeah,
Holy crap.
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Anyway, I'm voting for Chronicle.
Yeah.
Chronicle, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Now, rewatchability, I do think that Chronicle is a little bit on the heavier side, so Ratatouille has some edge, but I still think I still would rather watch Chronicle than Ratatouille.
Absolutely. Like,
I've watched Ratatouille once since it came out. I went and saw Chronicle twice in the theater, and I've watched it a few times since.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Ratatouille's more fun and colorful and
Sure.
the kids movie,
But it's
like,
also, like I said with the story, it's more boring. It sticks to this formula that we've seen.
Now, one of the
Nothing
things,
super interesting happens.
One of the things is that I think Ratatouille just hasn't aged quite as well.
yeah.
Like, it was really good at the time. I remember actually seeing Ratatouille in theaters and thinking, wow, this was really fun, and it actually got me inspired to go home and try cooking, which was weird, and I still
It has
haven't.
never happened again.
Yeah, it's never happened again.
Right.
But I think that it just hasn't aged well because it was successful and because Brad Bird moved on to other projects where we have now seen this several other times by the same guy. It's just, it's almost played out, if that makes sense. Not that it's a bad story, just the way Brad Bird tells it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chronicle was just so unique at the time. You hadn't seen anything like it, and
No,
they
makes
still
sense.
haven't made it.
Yeah.
They haven't made anything like
Absolutely not. And I'm getting so pumped talking about it. I want to go watch it right now.
it. It's an amazing movie. I would love to watch it. I'm voting
Rewatchability.
for Chronicle.
Yeah, I'm voting
No, for sure.
Now, with merits and genre, I do want to kind of vouch for Ratatouille in this.
That's
Ratatouille
kind
won
of
an
weird.
Oscar. He won the Best Animated Picture that year at the 2008 Oscars or whatever. It helped Brad Bird move on to other projects. He did The Incredibles. I think he did The Incredibles actually
He did
before.
Incredibles first.
But he did The Incredibles, he did Incredibles 2, he did Mission Impossible, he did Tomorrowland, he's done all these other movies besides Ratatouille, and we still haven't gotten to Chronicles 2, not because it's necessarily bad or it didn't impact the genre, but just because it was a complete story, I feel like.
It's true.
And so with Ratatouille, I think that it barely edges out in merits and genre, mostly because, Oscar.
Here's where I would disagree with you. Ratatouille, it's a kids movie, right? It's an animated film, Pixar. In its genre, I feel like it didn't top anything. It didn't do anything. Again, it was just kind of like this rehashing of stuff that worked. Like, this works, let's do it again. If it did win an Oscar, very recently I've realized I don't care what people give Oscars to.
It's very
Those
arbitrary.
award shows are so not about good movies. They're about good movies, not about good movies. But that doesn't give me any merit. I mean, it's at the bottom of animated movies list for me. Whereas Chronicle, in its genre, is a found footage superhero film, and it is the best found footage film
Absolutely.
that I've ever seen. It's up there with Blair Witch Project.
But again, it's not totally a found footage film. It's just, I feel like Ratatouille wins this just because it's done more for its creators. It's done more for...
Pixar is a lot better known as a whole, and it's not that Ratatouille necessarily revolutionized what they were doing. They were just already on a winning streak, and Ratatouille just kept that going. Like, it didn't hurt Pixar at all.
That's my thing, though. I think those merits are for Pixar, not Ratatouille. I feel like if Ratatouille was not a thing, Pixar would be in the same place it is now. One movie.
Probably. But the only problem is not a lot of people.
Probably.
Right.
I just don't know if a lot of people know about Chronicle. Like, you saw it in
More people
theaters
need to know
twice.
about
You told me about it, which was awesome. But, like, I've told some other people about it, like, oh, what are some of your favorite movies? And I say Chronicle, and they're like, oh, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, nobody knows about it. Nobody remembers it. But at the same time, is there a better movie than that's found footage? Is there?
No, absolutely not.
And
Blair
that
Witch
is a
Project
specific
is second.
genre. I still feel like it did more for its found footage genre than Ratatouille did for. I just don't feel like Ratatouille did anything. I don't feel like it had any merits. I feel like Pixar has merits, but
Okay.
So for merits and genre, I'm still gonna vote Ratatouille for this one.
Just to have it out there.
Yeah.
I want to vote Chronicle.
I'll vote for Chronicle 2.
Chronicle
But not-
2 hasn't been made yet.
No, not the petition for Chronicle 2, although that should happen. With another spear scene, please.
Preferably 3 spears.
At least.
Alright.
Okay.
Last one. Chronicles 1, because it's got 4 out of
4 out of
5.
5. But
Can it landslide?
yes, it can.
Yes.
Because the next category is emotional impact in good.
Oh
freak
my
manner.
gosh. Did Ratatouille have emotion?
It was
It
happy.
did.
It was fun.
It did, and there were some scary parts and some parts that you were scared for the characters. But Chronicle has 3 things: hospital scene, lightning scene, spear scene. Done.
That's true. I mean, again, this was
No
a
need.
dark movie.
And they planned on it being darker. It was
Yeah.
pitched as an NC-17 movie, not like past R
Right.
rated, like heavy dark, where these people, like all 3 of them, just become psychopaths and murder people. But that's a little bit too dark, and I like the direction that it went.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. I mean, the one kid who already had, like, emotional problems to begin with, the one who's holding the camera. What's his name?
Ding Dong.
Ding Dong.
His name is Andrew in the movie.
Yeah, you can see why he went down that way. I don't feel like...
Especially because of his dad.
Yeah. Like Matt was saying earlier, like, each one was affected differently by it, but I don't feel like the telekinesis had an effect on their mind. It was a power trip. It showed the way 3 people could take power and which directions they could take
It was like an excuse more than anything to just be themselves as they are.
Right, exactly.
I mean, like Dane DeHaan, he was able to lash out, and he was able to finally push back against his abusive father.
Right. Or just all the
What's
bullies.
the other guy? Alex. Yeah, all the bullies.
Yeah.
And Alex was just like, okay, we need to do good, all this stuff. But Michael B. Jordan, he already had that level of power. He was the popular kid.
Right.
He knew how to handle himself. He was already much more mature, and so he didn't necessarily need that power, and so he didn't use it as much.
He became bored with it.
Yeah.
And then the other one, he's just an overall good guy. He found ways to, use it for good, and he ended up doing that in the end. But the way Andrew just kind of slowly descends, it's really tension building throughout the whole
Oh,
movie.
absolutely.
You know it's coming.
Yeah, you know it's
From that
coming. You're
very
like, all
first
right,
scene.
this guy's already kind of messed up. Like, he could go wrong with this, but he's making friends. We'll see.
Like, he could have snapped even without the powers.
Right, exactly. And then you're getting into that scene. He's getting amped up, and he throws the car off the ledge. And it's like, oh freak, dude! Like, that is not an okay use of the powers. And you're like, it can only go down from here, right? And
Yeah.
it does. He starts robbing places. He starts hurting people. He kills his father.
Mm-hmm.
And then by that point, he's gone full supervillain.
He loves the power.
He's got more reason to use it.
Because he was the most powerless in his life.
Yeah.
Getting that taste was too much for him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The tension buildup was something that I still haven't forgotten to this day.
no, and like I said, I'm getting so pumped talking about it. I want to watch it tomorrow.
Right. A lot of you probably haven't seen Chronicle. Go watch Chronicle.
Please.
Anyway, I'm voting for Chronicle.
Absolutely.
Chronicle.
That's a landslide. A knockout victory, I believe.
Cinema knockout.
Yes.
Take that, you stupid. That's the effective scenario in this case. God, what a movie. It's been a while since we've dug out a cinema ball, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Not for you, it has for us. Make it a good one.
You just hold the one I wanted out of my hand. Now it's gonna be whatever this crap is.
Daniel, what do we got?
9.
Jake?
9? Is that the puppet one?
Yeah.
Breakfast Club?
Man versus Breakfast Club?
That will be interesting.
This is gonna be dope.
Yeah. Well,
Catch us next time when we deliberate over which is better between 9 and the Breakfast Club.
Bye.